how do you feel about all this research going on around coronavirus and COVID-19?
I think that there are four main areas. One is, and all of them for me are positive. One of them, and the easiest and the fastest, will be what is now called the repositioning of already marketed drugs that can be used for the treatment of patients with COVID-19. There have been a lot, some well-known antivirals, antimalarials. The second one is the development of new agents, new chemical entities. I am involved in one of them, which has been already submitted to the FDA and EMA, and we plan to start the trial in the very near future. It's a company that I am the chief medical officer, but there are tons of trials. The third one is probably the most expected, which is the development of a vaccine, which I am really confident, because there are a lot of projects in development in this kind of field, the field of the vaccines. And last but not least, I am also involved in a different project, which is the development of a biomarker, which may be of help to predict which patients are going to develop sepsis and septic shock. This is a biomarker called PSP, which stands from pancreatic stone protein. Therefore, in this kind of field, I know what I read in the last 3 months, and I know what I am doing these days in order to contribute to the development of tools or agents for the treatment of the COVID-19.
That's interesting, Toni. But let me ask you something different. I've heard that in previous pandemic, obviously none of the pandemics were like similar to this one, but let's say Ebola. What happened with research was that Ebola pandemic was on, and then a lot of research started. A lot of companies got involved in the research, and then when Ebola was kind of over, the pandemic was kind of over, they said, okay, let's stop research. Like, why would we continue doing that? Do you think that's even possible now?
Probably not. This pandemic has created issues and problems never seen before by almost anybody in the modern era. Even if the issue is addressed with a new vaccine or with treatments, it will boost a lot of new areas of research in terms of the inflammation that combines to this kind of infection. It is true that all the efforts that we see daily in terms of clinical trials and research, if we find a solution in terms of a vaccine, in terms of the efficient treatment, it is true that then now the research will go back to the traditional field, like oncology, neurology, degenerative diseases, things like that. But till we reach that point, which probably will not be the case in the next 1 to 2 years, all the efforts will go against the coronavirus. And then probably it is expected that maybe new waves, new different type of virus can target the whole world. I think that there will be always a constant research in order to prevent and to detect. And certainly this pandemic will change many things, including research.
Yeah, I was just speaking with 2 ladies from the UK, and both of them working in the clinical research industry. So they, for example, told me that there was a report 2015 saying that we have mitigation plans for terrorist attacks and like all these different type of things. And when it comes to pandemic, we don't have any action plans. So I think that one thing that will change is that we will have a plan in place. What happens if, again, we have such a virus or another type of disease that's that's spreading so easily? And what if this happens again? And I think people will change in one way or another, like the way they act and behave, and maybe they care more about themselves because they got scared, definitely. And I actually heard from another friend of mine from Spain that in Spain, researchers a couple of years ago, they warned that there will be problem around sepsis and like these kind of infectious diseases. And even though they warned it, like governments didn't put any money into research. Do you think now they will do that? And I don't speak only about coronavirus, but in general, these type of diseases, infectious diseases.
Well, this is a must, Maya. What we have seen in this, the impact of the coronavirus against elderly people, the massive need of new intensive care units and beds, the equipments to avoid infections across nurses and physicians and all this stuff. All in all, massive, drastic, dramatic changes should occur now. We cannot wait another 3 months, 6 months. The whole system should change now, because so far, I would say, from today's news, speaking about Spain, from today's news, 50,000 people that belong to hospitals, employees, have been infected. There are almost 25% of the whole Spanish population infected belongs to people who work at hospitals and clinics, ambulatory rooms. Then we need to prepare all these frontline fighters in order to avoid to be infected. Then in one way to another, it's not only research, it's a multidisciplinary activity that should be done by all means worldwide in order to not only to tackle the current pandemic, which may last easily 1, 2, or 3 more years till we all go, let's say, kind of normal life, but also to prevent the fact that many sites were full of people, full of beds. As you have seen in many countries, beds had to be allocated in stadiums or in areas for congresses, things like that. Then we need to change that by all means.
Yeah, but how can we change that? Because if we don't have such a pandemic, then maybe we don't need these facilities. But maybe what we need to change, I'm now brainstorming, is not that the capacity that we have, but be able to expand the capacity whenever we have to. Like, for example, what happened in China, like to build hospitals overnight.
Well, but probably what it needs to be done is once the peak of all this pandemic is, let's say, it's over, what I would recommend is always to learn from those who were able to manage the situation better than others. There are examples of countries like, I don't know, New Zealand or South Korea or Iceland, where they reacted in a different way. For example, in Iceland, people were started being tested for COVID-19 1 month before the first case occurred in the island. Then I think that what we need to do is to review what it has been done on a country by country basis and to try to learn what it has been done in those who were certainly successful. And also, in each and every country, I already know in sites from, I don't know, Switzerland or Spain or what appears in the news, that there have been facilities where an early establishment of measurements to avoid the contact with people from abroad, people who were in areas close, no contact with families, no contact with relatives, no contact with friends. They were safe, nobody died. Then it is true that it has been a delay in taking decisions in order to say we need to block the potential contact. Most of these decisions were taken by, if not all, by politicians based on economic criteria. And in most of the cases, such decisions were late and wrong.
True.
Too late, too wrong. Always with the idea, no, it will not happen with us. This is China, or this is Italy, or this is in Spain, or this is in whatever country. No, it has been demonstrated that whatever happens in one side of the world, in minutes, if not in days, is already in the other side of the world.
Yeah.
We need to change. And also, what I see these days is that people believe that, okay, it will last for what you just said. I think that the best is to learn and to implement completely different systems by all means. This pandemic is going to change the world.